Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to this VC Lab session. I'm super excited to see you all here. There's so many of you. So thank you so much for making the time and joining us. My name is Mirto Lalakos, and I'm a principal here at VC Lab. And I want to start off by telling you a few things about who we are and what we do in case this is the first time that you're joining us. So VC Lab is part of Desal Group. Right. And Desal Group looks to power the next generation of venture capital investors worldwide. And there's a few ways in which we do this, right? But before I get into it, guys, this is going to be an interactive session. And so feel free to kind of use the chat here. Feel free to introduce yourself. If you are starting a venture capital fund, however, avoid putting your thesis in the chat because this could be a general solicitation. So introduce yourself. But if you're working on a fund and you're kind of a new manager, please make sure you don't put your thesis in there. And then there's also you're going to notice there's a tab with a Q&A button, so you can use this section of the platform in order to ask your questions. And at the end of the session here, we're going to try and get through as many questions as possible. And please upvote the questions that you'd like to see answered. Also, what we're going to do is that we're going to leave a lot of room for networking. We've got members of the team here who are here to also connect with you, answer any questions you have about the program that I'm about to explain. And yeah, and we're creating a community here at VC Lab, and we want you to be a part of it. So, with that in mind, we can go ahead and get started here. So, we're in the new year, right? I think it's too late to wish people happy new year, but it's 2025, right? And 2024 ended on a high in the industry. We were kind of seeing record numbers of commitments from LPs. The VC funds that launched in 2024 are, launching faster. They're a lot more global. They're a lot more diverse, and so we're super excited about the changes that we're going to be seeing in 2025. We did a whole report, by the way, looking into, we basically took data from half of all the firms that launched in 2024 and compared that to the data we had from funds launching in 2023. And so we have this full report so you can see kind of where we are with new and emerging managers in the world right now. And there's some incredibly interesting insight. So we'll put that in the chat for you guys to kind of, have a look. But about Desal Group, right? So who are we? Um, Desal Group is kind of the parent company of VC Lab, and our purpose is to help new and emerging managers thrive. So it's our, view that first of all, the world is headed into a destructive kind of direction, and we need to act really fast and move very efficiently in order to move things around. And so what our kind of stance is that what can solve the issues that we're seeing and kind of save the future of humanity is venture capital, because it's kind of this tool that's super effective and that allows founders who are creating incredible solutions against things like climate change and social justice to really kind of put their ideas into use and change the way things are, right? And so Desal Group's purpose is just to make it so much easier for people to set up VC funds and to start funding these entrepreneurs. And we do this through various means. So we train people. So VC Lab is kind of the training arm of Desal Group. And we have three programs. VC Lab is the first one. It's got the name, same name as the entity name. And VC Lab is kind of what we're going to be focusing on today and talking about the program at length, but it's a closing program for people looking to start a venture capital firm. But we also have two other programs. So one of them is Venture Institute, and this is a learning program for people who want to learn more about venture capital because they're interested in a career in venture capital. So it's not necessarily for people, who want to start their own firms, although those people can also be interested in joining Venture Institute, but it's really for people who want a career change, right? And want to work in these new and emerging ethical venture capital funds that are being created all over the world. And we also have, so we have VC Lab, Venture Institute, and the third program is LP Institute. And LP Institute is a program where we are working with individual and institutional limited partners who are interested in exploring venture capital as an asset class. And so we are really, reconstructing the ecosystem from the ground up. We're kind of helping these new managers set up VC funds. We're helping that through VC Lab. We're helping them to build their teams through Venture Institute. And then we're creating investors who are investing in these VC funds. So we're doing so much kind of community work. And today we're here to talk to you about VC Lab and, uh, what you need to know about this program if you are someone who's looking to launch a venture capital firm. So we have a bunch of tools for you. So it's the program is a 4-month program to kind of help you plan and close a venture capital fund. We are offering you Decel Hub, which is the operating system that is used by most venture capitalists, that comes free with the program. We also have a fund of fund that invests in some of the companies and funds that are in VC Lab. And we also have Decel Partners, which is, our kind of back office support offering as well. And that's only if you kind of get to a first close. But let's kind of dive into VC Lab a little bit more here. So um, what we do is that we help managers reach a first close 2 times faster than normal funds, right? So usually it can take up to 24 months to close a fund, and we help managers do it in kind of 6 months, and in some cases, even less. So there's kind of a structure that we use, and I want to go through this with you. So once again, it's kind of, the program is between 3 and 4 months, depending on kind of how fast you're going as well. But in the first month, we're doing thesis development work, and a good thesis is kind of your foundation for how you're going to build the fund. And this is what you kind of take out to market to test whether the fund that you're setting up is something that people are interested in investing in, right? And so in the whole first month of the program, we're helping you to create a world-class thesis. And this is basically a one sentence pitch that convinces LPs to kind of sign letters of intent that they're coming into your fund. And it can take so long to do this. And, if you've built a startup before, the closest kind of uh, uh, thing to a thesis is kind of your value proposition statement. And if you've been an entrepreneur, you know how long it can take to kind of develop something that really lands and communicates concisely what it is that you're building as a startup. Well, it's the same thing with the thesis. In the second month, we're going to be ramping up on pitching. So we're going to, coach you on how to go out, pitch LPs, um, by starting with your kind of inner circle and identifying the LPs that are already in your network. And then we're going to help you to kind of begin formal outreach to these people, as well as teach you how to expand to connect with LPs who are outside of your immediate network. In the final kind of month, we're getting very technical, sorry. So we're, preparing your data room. We're helping you kind of with your accounting, your legal, your compliance. Um, and we're kind of getting you ready to enter formal due diligence for with your LPs, whether those are individual LPs or institutionals, before your first close. So you can see kind of in the slide further breakdown of kind of like in the detail the type of things that we cover in those months, but this is the high level overview. And right now, VC Lab, because we're making it so easy to launch a fund, we're getting at a point here where we're accelerating half of the world's funds, new funds every single year. So I put the numbers in here for you to have a look as well. And the program is also global, right? So I know there's a lot of you here who are from various locations in the world, and feel free to kind of put in the chat where you guys are logging into, because our community spans across every single continent. Obviously, the majority of the community is in the US, but that's also an ecosystem thing, right? There's the US is home to the most vibrant kind of startup community, and it's still kind of leading in terms of the number of new and emerging funds that come out of there. But there's all these other places in the world, Southeast Asia, right? Huge activity with venture capital. Africa is another huge one. There's so many new and emerging funds that we're working with there, and there's some countries that only recently had their very first venture capital fund. So a few years ago, we helped to launch the first fund in Mongolia, which was, which was awesome to do. Like, the country did not have a VC fund before that. Um, so here are kind of some benefits that come with joining the program. So one of the main kind of support systems that you get and resources is this structured curriculum that we've built over the course of 16 cohorts now. We're iterating on this curriculum every single cycle, and it's basically your step-by-step guide towards every little and big thing that you need to do in order to set up a venture capital fund. Right. And so when you get into the program, you get access to this curriculum. And every week we are telling you exactly what you need to do in which order, such that, you're not wasting time on things that don't need to be done. And you're kind of really building out your VC fund in a scalable way. Every week, we have mentoring sessions. We have 2 live sessions every week. So there's an AMA as well as a webinar. In the AMA, it's kind of, VC experts that are talking to you for an hour and answering any questions that you may have about fund building. And then in the webinar, it's more of like a fireside chat with mentors from our ecosystem, and outside of that, LPs who are all there to kind of talk to you about, either their experience of starting and launching a successful venture capital fund, or their experience investing in new and emerging managers, right? We also have, experts coming in and talking to you about compliance and legals in VC. We have, the ex head of treasury at Sequoia Capital kind of doing sessions with you and telling you how to set up your fund to be institutional grade from day one. And so these are, another very, very valuable component of the program. Of course, the program wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for its community. So as part of kind of joining a VC Lab cohort, you are also entering a global community of new and emerging managers that spans kind of across the globe and is super active, and everyone's there to kind of support each other. They're kind of, everyone's organizing or inviting you to events. So, it's a very kind of collaborative community. And once you set up the fund, what you find is that these people that you meet in the community are going to be the ones helping you to find good deal flow. They're going to be the ones co-investing in the startups that you're investing in, or even doing their follow-on rounds. So another, perk that you get with the program is the free venture platform to manage all of your venture operations. So this is Decel Hub, right? So we're building the operating system for venture capital, and it's this platform that's been purpose built by VCs for VCs to help you guys in all your operations, from fundraising all the way to fund deployment. It helps you manage your portfolio, your deal flow, and also kind of like your relationships with limited partners, your capital calls. I mean, you name it. Like there's still parts of this platform that I don't even know exist. And every time someone does a demo, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it's also doing this. Like it'll write out your emails. It'll take, you can submit information about a limited partner that you're talking to, and it'll write out the emails that you need to be sending them, from kind of first contact all the way to them committing into the fund. Taking into account who the LP is and the information it has on them. So, I mean, this is just one example. And we could have, and we actually do run a lot of sessions where we kind of show you about this platform and kind of go through a lot of the tools that come with it. Um, so super, super exciting. And make sure we can also actually link to all the upcoming events that we have here in January and Q1 in the chat. So Domenica, you can add the link with all our upcoming events. And you guys, we welcome you to kind of join all our future events as well. And yeah. And then, finally, we have ongoing support, to help managers close, whether that outside of the sessions, right? So we do office hours with you guys. We're on Slack, obviously. And so we're here to answer all your questions and give you feedback on your material and so on and so forth. Awesome. So obviously, any new and emerging manager is welcome on the program, right? And so we have been accelerating funds that are operating in all sectors. Um, However, we do have these what we call tracks, and they're kind of specialized, almost groups of funds within each VC Lab cohort where you guys get additional support. So, this would apply for those of you building accelerator funds, venture studios, uh, if you're an emerging fund manager, so if you're a fund two, fund three, or above, then you'd be in a specialized track because your, you know, challenges and building a fund two is very different to building a fund one. So we're, this track is going to be addressing your particular needs. As the same thing with venture studios, right? So there's a very special way in which you set up the fund alongside the venture studio. Same thing with accelerators. And then we also have some tracks that are kind of designed for two kind of sectors. So space and artificial intelligence. So we, believe that humanity will be interplanetary within the next decade. There's going to be enormous investment opportunities. And so we're building this track to kind of address specific kind of challenges faced by people building funds within the space industry. And then same thing with AI. I mean, AI is booming, right? You didn't hear it first here. And we're, because it's such a competitive industry, because it's kind of very technical, we also have a track that supports you guys launching funds in this space. So yeah, VC Lab is here to kind of help launch the next generation of managers worldwide. And if that's you, then we welcome you to apply to Cohort 17. So right now we have applications open for the 17th VC Lab cohort. And in every previous cohort, we've had up to 3,600 applications, right? I mean, it's the demand for this is huge. There's people building funds all over the world. And we're looking to really work with the best and the most ethical people out there. Okay, so in each cohort, we'll be admitting maybe 300 firms or something like that. And we prioritize kind of alignment of expectations. And we want to make sure that you're ready for a first close. So the other thing that I do want to mention here is that we are, a mission-driven company, and ethics are super, super important to us. Everyone who joins VC Lab pledges to the Mansarius Oath, and there's kind of no exception here. So, everyone is required to employees included, right? Everyone in the community is required to publicly share the Mensarius Oath as a commitment to ethical standards in venture capital. And we can link to the Mensarius Oath in the chat for everyone who wants to know more about it. And, if we're looking to make a community that aligns on values, and if you're unwilling to kind of, pledge to the oath as well, then we recommend that you don't apply, because this is kind of, it's a free program, but this is a very essential, criterion that we take into account before kind of admitting anyone into the community. So, look, applications are closing soon. We're going to put the application link into the chat. And so we invite you to submit your application now. It's a very easy and quick process to do that, because we don't want you to miss out on the next cohort. Okay, so with that, that's me done. I'm going to stop sharing screen, and what I'm going to do is that I'll go into the Q&A and answer any questions you guys have. All right. Okay, so remember to upvote questions, guys. We won't have time to go through every question, but I do want to take the most popular ones and make sure those are addressed. All right. So I'm going to show these questions up on stage. So Marwa, hi. You are asking, is the program going to help figure out the best setup possible for fund formation outside the US? I.e., which country to launch from in Europe, and optimal legal and financial setup. Yeah, so we talk about fund formation at length. However, small disclaimer before I go further into, fund formation. If you are a new manager, there are so many steps that you need to take before you form the fund. Forming the fund can cost you anywhere between 50K to 200K. That's dollars, depending on where you are in the world and how you set up the fund. However, what happens is that if you form right away, you'll see that then when you kind of go out to pitch to limited partners and stuff like that, they will want you to do something different than how you've already formed the fund. And so what you need to do is you actually need to get commitment. You're building this in a scalable way, right? So you're not putting a ton of resources up front. You're testing the market. You're going to do your thesis. You're going to go out to the market. You're going to start getting commitments. And once you get to a point where you hit around $1 million in commitments, $1 million of commitments, then that's when you're at a place where you know your LPs, you kind of know where they are situated in the world as well, and how you want to form the fund. And that's when you kind of start thinking and partnering up with vendors in order to help you form the fund. Also, there's a ton of bad vendors out there, right? There's, you know, being a lawyer and being a lawyer who specializes in venture capital is almost like two different professions, right? Same thing with accounting. An accountant that is not trained on venture capital is not going to be able to do your accounting correctly. And we're talking here about a very, very regulated industry that is not forgiving of mistakes, right? So, for example, we talked about general solicitation at the start. If you are, if you're publicly advertising the fund, you could be put to jail in places like Europe, in places like the US. You could be barred from ever being a director of a company ever again. So you need to be extremely careful, like how set up the fund. So small caveat, but yes, we talk on at great length, and go into a great amount of detail about fund formation, the different domiciles that exist around the world. So this is also all covered. Thank you, Mauro, for your question. All right. So Stylianos, oh, hi, Stylianos. So how protected and private is my funds data in the VC Lab software? Since the software is offered for free, it likely means we are the product. So this is a very kind of common misconception. Sorry. So we are not in the business of data whatsoever, right? So if I'd like to kind of talk about our business model as well, because VC Lab is also a free program, right? But this is how Decile Group makes money. So what we do is that we partner up with some of the top managers within the VC Lab program, and we, do fund formation and fund back office services for some of the funds that get into the program, and we like, each party wants to work together. Um, our approach to kind of fund formation, fund back office is to be kind of a holistic partner for your company. So we're not just doing the accounting and the legal, we're also helping you find limited partners. We're introducing you to LPs. We are helping you with your deal flow. We're bringing on highly qualified on thesis deals. We're helping you to, you know, conduct due diligence and analysis of your deals. So this is just kind of some of the things that we do for our partners. So, that's kind of our business model. The data is completely yours. We are unable to access it. We have a whole data policy about how we use data on the platform, but it's not something that we, are sharing or anything like that. We think actually that, kind of taking your data and selling it to third parties is an ethical kind of business practice, and we've also signed the Mansarius oath, and we do not engage in any type of activity of the sort. So thank you so much for asking the question. All right. Robert is asking, is it possible to participate in multiple special tracks in cohort 17? So yeah, this is something that we are exploring. So sometimes, for example, we have accelerators that are building funds in space that have an AI program, right? So you're an accelerator only for AI. In those cases where you are kind of operating across what could be multiple tracks, we will kind of see if we can put you in both of those tracks. However, we have special requirements, and the tracks aren't kind of like it's not a learning track, and in fact VC Lab is not a learning program, right? It's a closing program, and so in order to be in the program or even in those tracks, you need to be actively working towards the first close of your company and of your fund. And in the tracks, you need to be a real venture studio. So you're not going to go in the track to see if a venture studio is for you. If you are operating a venture studio, then you can get into the venture studio track. If you are building a space fund, then you can join the space track. So it's not, oh, I'm just kind of exploring what type of fund I want to create. Usually you kind of come into the program having an initial idea about the type of fund that you've set out to create. So hopefully that helps. Thank you, Robert, for asking the question. Anna is asking, will you be sharing the exact sprint submission dates ahead of program start? Yeah, absolutely, Anna. So we have the full kind of 14-week schedule, on your portal. Once you start the program, your sprints are there. You know what days those need to be submitted. It's always the same day at the same time every week that this happens. And same thing with we take a very structured and repetitive approach week on week. So every week you have your sprint submission that is due. You have your at the same time, same day. You have your AMA at the same time, same day. You have your webinar same time, same day, every single week. And so you always know when the sessions are up. You always know when you need to submit the sprints. And talking about the sprints, everyone. So this is kind of something that I want to address. So we want to see in the program, right? You can't just kind of join and be a passive participant, right? We need to see that you are actively working towards your fund close, and we do that by looking at whether you're submitting your sprints and your weekly, if you're kind of following the weekly curriculum. Right. And so we'll be checking that everyone's doing the work, because we want to create a community where everyone is working towards the same goal, right? And so what happens if you're not keeping up is that we'll get to kind of week 6 of the program, for example, and the issues faced by people at week 6 of their fund closing journey are very different to the problems faced by people at week 0 of their fund building journey. And so what happens that you get on these webinars and all these calls, and you have kind of questions that have already been solved by the majority of the group. And so it's kind hopefully you see how that's kind of um, not super constructive, right? So we need everyone to be, you know, um, in the same rhythm, working towards the same objective, and kind of more or less at the same stage of progress. All right. So let's take a couple more questions, but I do want to make sure that you have time to network with each other. All right. So Prince is asking, what are some key considerations for first-time fund managers when structuring a VC fund to attract LPs, especially in emerging markets like Africa? Um, yeah, so this is again something we talk about. Uh, we obviously talk about this a lot in the program, and a lot of you will have kind of geography specific questions because you're a global community, and this is totally normal. I do want to make a point here to say that whilst there are regional differences across the world about in kind of like the venture capital ecosystem, it's also the case that VC is kind of done the same all over the world. So the model is the same, and there is models that work and that lead you to kind of building a scalable and very large venture capital firm. And there are models that typically don't really work or may work for a short period of time, but then you're not able to kind of scale the fund. And so the model that works is applicable everywhere in the world. And the model that we kind of guide you through is one that you're going to be able to replicate in Africa, in Asia, in Canada, Europe, and so on and so forth. So, Prince, hopefully that helps answer the question here. All right. So, let's take a couple more questions. So, this one is from Stefano. Um, sorry, one second. All right. Are most of the sessions individual or group sessions? So most of the sessions are group sessions, in fact. So once again, those are the AMAs and the webinars that you're going to be doing. And it's going to be the whole cohort. We do have some office hours as well at hand for you guys in order for you guys to get support in a smaller group. But we also, and this is something that we can link in the chat as well. So there's your normal kind of program participation at VC Lab will be a cohort experience, and it's going to be alongside the rest of the people who have been admitted into the program. If, however, you're looking for more individualized support on a one-to-one basis, if you want someone who's always going to be there to answer your questions, if you want kind of coaching sessions on how to pitch to LPs, if you want help kind of addressing specific LP kind of questions and concerns, then there's also the VC Lab Raise kind of track. So it's kind of like the premium version of VC Lab, where instead of it being a cohort experience where you're kind of in it with a community, you have your own dedicated channels, you have your own kind of mentors, you have your own kind of individual office hours every other week or so. And it's like a concierge type of experience for you. And that is obviously we're charging for that because we don't have the resource to do that for everyone. So Stefano, hopefully that helps. and we'll put in the chat kind of more details about this um, kind of option if that's something that you're interested in. All right, maybe we do one more question. Okay. So for people who are on different time zones, will all of the sessions be essentially recordings then? Yeah, exactly. So every single session is recorded. And we understand that sometimes the time won't work for you either because, you're doing something else or because you're in a time zone that doesn't allow you to join live. And in those cases, that's absolutely fine. We record every single session and we send out the recording after the session is done. So hopefully that helps, Marwa. Thank you for asking the question. And with that, everyone, I will kind of, wrap it up here because I want to make sure that you guys have a ton of time to network with each other. There's some incredible people attending here today. We want to make sure that you can meet them. So members of the team will also be on the tables. We'll have an admissions table. So if you're applying to VC Lab or have questions about your application in VC Lab, then we have a dedicated team member that's there to answer any question you may have. And then there's kind of general networking tables. So with that, everyone, it was such a pleasure being here with you today. Thank you so much once again for coming, and we hope to be working with you in Cohort 17. All right, everyone, goodbye.